In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. I hope you're doing all right whenever you're watching. Today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon.com. That's it. And you could also go to BillyCBoxing.com. I think there's a special still running through this month. And I got to double check. I forgot to double check last week if it goes through February. But I know it's going through this month. It's a special for the book directly from the publisher. Now's the time to get it because it's cheap. But anyway, busy show scheduled for you today. I just got a question in the chat room by my man Joel, and the answer is yes, I do. I don't want to repeat the question because you got to come over and look in the chat room and see what it was. But today's show, we got a lot of stuff going on, a busy fight weekend, some big fights scheduled for this weekend. I'll be breaking down and predicting at least 8 of them across a couple of different platforms, maybe even 9. That's coming up a little bit later on the show. Daxx Khan. He's going to be stopping by with his thoughts on, in my opinion, the biggest fight scheduled this weekend, which is Shakur Stevenson moving up to junior welterweight to challenge and take on Teofimo Lopez for his strap in what promises to be a good one. I got some updates on Tyson Fury, Dimitri Bivol, Daniel Dubois, and much, much more. But first, hey, I just want to tell you, we got some great guests scheduled coming up in the next few weeks. Next week, I got a guy I can't wait to talk to, Victor Reynoso. He's a young, undefeated welterweight prospect. He's headlining a fight card in Rhode Island, and we're going to be catching him a couple of days before the fight. He's fighting on February 7th. He's taking on Ray Oliveira Jr. It's going to be a good fight. So you can check out that. If you're in that area, just go to CES Boxing and get yourself some tickets. But anyway, I also got Mike Silva coming up in a couple of weeks. Mike Silva, you've heard me talk about him. Great author. And he just put a new book out we're going to be talking about called When in Doubt, Stop the Bout. But speaking of bouts, all right, let's talk about the fights, some of the big fights scheduled for this, or actually that were scheduled and took place last weekend. Callum Walsh, you know, I have a lot of thoughts on this fight, and one of the first things that comes to mind is I started getting so sick of the broadcast team. As much as I like all of them, if I heard them refer to Ocampo as a gatekeeper one more time, this guy wasn't a gatekeeper, in my opinion. I think contender, top 12 contender would have been in order. Not so much a gatekeeper. He did not come out on top. They both were throwing heavy punches early in the fight. It slowed down to a normal pace. But at the end of the day, Callum Walsh, in my opinion, dominated this fight. There was no question about it. And the judges saw it the same way. 98-90, two judges saw it, 97-91, all in favor of Callum Walsh, who improves to 16-0 with 11 knockouts. Ocampo, who was there to fight, and he was a tough guy. The thing is that he was he didn't throw enough punches. He should have kept the pressure on like he tried to in the beginning of that fight, and it just started going Walsh's way. But I got to be honest, it looked like Walsh was running out a little petrol too. But nonetheless, Ocampo drops only his fourth fight, 38-4 with 26 of his wins coming by knockout. I think it was, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it was. I don't think they should have been referring to him as a gatekeeper. I think he was a notch above, a couple of notches above that. The co-main event saw Mizel Rodriguez took care of Austin Adinda to improve to 16-0. Adinda drops his first fight. He's now 17-1. And in one of the best fights I've seen in a long time, Julian Rodriguez took on Sugarcane Sandoval in a fight that turned out to be just nonstop back and forth between these two guys. I mean, look, the scores weren't close because Rodriguez, proved to be the sharper fighter. But hats off to Sandoval because he was trying, man. 99-91 the way two of the judges saw it, and 98-92 gave Rodriguez the unanimous win. He improves to 25-1 with 15 of his wins coming by knockout, and Kane Sandoval loses for the first time in his career. A couple of points I want to make here real quick is, I, now, as you know, I've been supportive of the Zuffa Boxing / Dana White approach. I think it's going to work. This was this fight card. The whole card was his first one of the year. My thoughts initially, I thought it was a very competitive card. It wasn't being billed as some super duper top-notch show. I think the production was good. I think everything was crisp. He knows what he's doing. My only knock is the announcing, and I'll tell you why. Don't get me wrong. I look. I like Max Kellerman. There's no question about that. Joe Tessitore, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest college football broadcaster commentators that you're ever going to listen to. All right, no doubt about it. But he's awful with boxing. I'm sorry, he's awful. He started going bad. I'm being asked in the chat room. I'm trying to do all these things. I didn't see all the people that popped in real quick. At John, no, I didn't see the article. I'd like to see it if it was about Dana White. Give a shout out to Lovett and Coach and everybody else in there. My point is Joe Tessitore, I thought, ruined it by trying to make it sound. He was better when he started out with boxing, but I wasn't happy with him. As far as Max goes, something's happened to Max. I think he's too. I think he's too corporate. I got to be honest. I've chatted with him a couple of times ringside, and he's a knowledgeable guy. He knows the sport. But I don't know some of the stuff he was saying, and who was it? Ward, right? Andre Ward was there. He seems so snooty when he calls a fight, doesn't he? And here's the thing. one of these things I wanted to talk about that bothered me. They couldn't stop talking about it during this fight, and this will be the last thing I am going to talk about. I'm going to move on to the next card that was really good too. There was a round in this fight where there was a knockdown, the Callum Ocampo fight, and there was a knockdown. Callum Walsh, his glove touched the canvas. All right, a punch was thrown. It did not hurt him, but the glove touched the canvas. The referee correctly called it a knockdown, and they counted. Right. Then in between rounds, these guys acted like it was such a confusing way to score the round. Now, the unwritten boxing rules, or the boxing rules, the ABC boxing rules that they go by, says that you're supposed to score a knockdown, a 10-8 round. But there's been a lot of discussion over that over the last several years. And this is a perfect example of a round that you just can't score 10-8 in favor of Ocampo, even though it was his punch, if you want to call it that put Callum Walsh to the canvas. The way I would have scored it was easy. The way you're supposed to score it, the way Larry Hazard told me to score, who scores better than him? Harold Letterman. We discussed the same types of things, how to score these crazy things, and Steve Farhood, another one. Three, in my opinion, the best scorers that you could be, and of the three, two of them were official scorers. So, look, you score the round. It's in a 10-point must system. That means you must score the winner of the round 10. Now, we start with that, and it's 10-9 in a normal situation. So a fighter wins a round, no knockdowns, nothing like that, 10-9, right? Now, in this case, and then if there was a point taken away or whatever, so you score the round the way it was first. So now it's 10-9. Now there's a knockdown, right? Now, I'm scoring the fight for the round for Callum Walsh, despite the knockdown. He won the round, 10-9. But now you got to deduct a point from the 10 because he got the knockdown. It doesn't become a 10, in my opinion, it doesn't become a 10-8 round in favor of Ocampo. It becomes a 9-9 round. And the reason why I say that, I mean, you could make the argument that, okay, 10-point must, that means you got to score 10 points for the winner of the round. And because of the knockdown, okay, so at the very best, and this is what they couldn't agree on, at the very best, it's a 10-9 round in favor of Ocampo. It's not a 10-8 round. You can't possibly make it a 10-8 round. I mean, Walsh won every other second of that round, except for that. Personally, I know it's a 10-point must system, meaning you're supposed to score 10. But for me, I would have scored it 9-9. That's all I want to say about that. Moving on. Muratalla, what a fight that was against Cruz. I gotta be honest with you. I was pleasantly surprised with Andy Cruz. I was critical of his lack of professional fights. He's a Cuban fighter, had tons and tons of fights in Cuba or around the world, actually fighting, the best opposition he can. But Muratalla is just I thought a notch above, and I did not expect this fight to go the distance. But in any event, it was a really competitive fight, back and forth. I think I don't know which fighter I became more impressed with, whether it was Muratalla for the way he was relentless and just stuck to his game plan and carried it off to a T, or against Andy Cruz, or for Andy Cruz because of how game he was and how good he really is. And I'll tell you something. Remember what I said about when I was breaking it down? I said the only thing about Cuban fighters sometimes is they don't like getting hit in the body because they're so used to that amateur uh, circuit, and you're not really getting points. They're scoring points for mostly punching in the head, and they don't get used to getting hit by the body. Now Muratalia started working the body, but he was working it too late. If he would have started doing that in the early rounds, I think it would have paid dividends for him because Cruz definitely didn't like it, and his offensive attack slowed down when Muratalia was doing the was working the body a little bit. But nonetheless, one judge saw it even at 114 apiece. But the other two, 116, 112 for Muratalia. I think that's a reasonable score. 118, 110 for Muratalia. The thing with that is you could make the argument that he was landing the harder punches. But that score just got me. I personally didn't score the fight, but I would have thought it was more like 115, 113. But a very good fight. Muratalia stays undefeated 24-0 with 17 knockouts. There was another couple of fights on that. The one that bothered me the most was a champion, just a regional champion, Calico, in the light heavyweight division, missed his weight. He didn't hit the 175-pound limit, so you figure he was over a couple of pounds. How about almost 8 pounds? He was 7.8 pounds. And he took on Jesse Hart. And I got news for you. I thought Hart won this fight. The way the judges scored it, one judge had it 94-94 as a draw, and the other two saw it 95-93, 96-92 in favor of Coe, which I disagree. I thought Jesse Hart won this fight. It was a close fight, but in no way did Coe, in my opinion, win any round 96-92. I don't even think he won a round at 95-93 of those scores. So I wasn't too happy with that. But another fight on that card, Israel Majirmov got back in the ring. He won the fight. He fought another guy that I didn't think would go the distance, but I think that was his plan, just to make it to the end, and he did. It'll be interesting to see if Majirmov, he had pneumonia. He was fighting with pneumonia. So yeah. But in any event, there was a couple other decent fights on that card. But that was a good one. But I just get some thoughts on the Callum Walsh card again. Zuffa Boxing. I thought what we saw was good. I think we got to see some of the young fighters that are signed. You're going to see them again and again. I think these next two shows are going to be similar that he's doing, and then he's going to come out with a big one, and maybe March 8th might even be that one because Jay Apatea is going to be the main event on that. So we'll see who he fights. They haven't mentioned who it is yet, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that one. Some other news I wanted to get to before I really start breaking down the fights here, because I know we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about those. I know I got Daxx Khan coming on in a minute or two, but did you hear Tyson Fury's fighting again? Yeah, he's taking on Arslanbek Makhmudov. And that fight is taking place in the UK, April 11th. Makhmudov says, I'm thrilled with the opportunity. I'm coming to deliver a war. Tyson Fury's been a champion. I'll be more than ready than ever to leave with a massive W. We're not going to England to show up. We're going there to do everything possible to win. 21-2 with 19 knockouts. Tyson Fury 34-2 with 2 losses and a draw with 24 of his wins coming by knockout. What do I think of the fight? Well, Makhmudov has shown that he wasn't the killer. AJ KBL beat him, and he runs out of gas. I think it's the perfect opponent for Tyson Fury. All Tyson Fury has to do is box this guy and move, and he's going to win. So we'll see what happens with that. Speaking of heavyweights, this is a fight I would like to see. Look, I want to see KBL go up against Usyk. I mean, that's the fight I want to see. All right, but we don't know. There's all kinds of rumors of Usyk's next opponent. I don't even want to say who until it's announced because there's a lot of BS that floats around. But I know that Daniel Dubois and Ajit KBL, they're two viable heavyweights that could be facing each other, even though I believe KBL deserves a shot. But the word on the curb is that Danny Dubois most likely is going to fight Zhilei Zhang in his next fight. So we'll see what shakes out here over the next few weeks. I don't know if you caught this, but Christian Mobiliai, the WBC officially named him the super middleweight champion. Well, obviously it's the title that Terrence Crawford was stripped of, and Mobiliai had the interim belt. But here's my problem. I get it, and I get the fact that the WBC has their rules, and that's one of them that they get elevated. But I don't know about you, but I kind of have a problem with fighters getting awarded titles without having to win it in the ring. Because are we saying that his last fight, even though he had the interim belt, that his opponent was worthy of a world title fight? I mean, I guess we count it as a world title. I don't know, man. This is why I'm so supportive and hope that Dana White is successful, because you just can't keep track. You just can't keep track. Dmitry Bivol. Now, I've heard so many rumors about Bivol, and one of them was actually something I wanted to happen, and that would be a rematch with what's his name, the killer up there in Canada. But it sounds like his next fight is going to be Michel Eofert. It's the IBF mandatory, so we'll see what happens with that one. Peter Biev obviously was who the killer in Canada I was talking about. So at least we'll see him back in the ring. I'm a little disappointed that Peter Biev is not the opponent. I do believe that a third fight with those two not only is worthy of it. I think we need it. I mean, it's such a classic trilogy. Arguably the two best in the division. One gets a win one time where a lot of people thought that the other guy won, and then they have a rematch, and it's the complete opposite. The guy who won that one, a lot of people thought the other guy won. But anyway, we'll be talking about that this weekend. Maybe not. We got a huge fight coming up, and there's a lot of them. Like I said, I'm going to be breaking down 8 or 9 of fights later. But joining us right now to talk about a fight that he said was the biggest fight since Fury and Usyk, and I don't know. What was bigger than that, Dax? What's up, bro?
What's going on? I didn't say bigger.
Crawford Canelo, maybe.
No, I didn't say bigger. I said fight that I was the most excited for.
Right.
Other than what you just mentioned, Bivol and Biev, which was sensational. I think the world was waiting for that one. But what makes this so special is the same reason why those were so special. They're fights that, unlike Oscar loves to say, is marinates. They didn't marinate it for too long. They made it right away, because the longer you marinate fights nowadays, it seems, unless it's the casual fan, you lose interest. Floyd Pacquiao, you lose interest. How many years can you be excited about something before something new comes along that you're even more excited about? But
wait, that's something. What you just said, I agree with 100%. That I just wonder why they don't. I just wonder why boxing doesn't move quicker, because they still don't. They still don't. It's like you talk about the fight. What about the Boots Ennis fight? That's a fight everybody wants. The fighters seem to want it, and
well, a man that just retired and will be an ATG, and he will go in the Hall of Fame his very first time up there. Nobody wanted to fight him. Look how slow it took for him to gain his respect. And I was on that bandwagon since 135 pounds, and from there to 168. Not only did nobody compete with him, really, they received beatings like, they were stepchildren, in Terrence Crawford. Look how slow his career moved along, and that was due to no choice of Terrence. It's just like this fight here, where a lot of people do not want to. When I'm saying a lot of people, I mean promoters, managers. They don't want to put their money fighter in, or potential money fighter in, against somebody who can derail that train.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see. That's why I'm so supportive of Dana White and what he's trying to do, and we'll see what happens with that. And I agree, Terrence Crawford, special guy. I was a fan of his. We talked about him when nobody was giving him credit. I think after the first time he was on Showtime or Showbox or something. But
when people didn't even know him,
they never gave him credit. Even to this day, they criticize his level of opposition. I don't even,
Did you ever hear the Tim Bradley story?
The Tim Bradley story?
Yeah, about Terrence Crawford.
Maybe. I'm not
real quick for everybody who's listening is Tim Bradley, who was signed with Cameron Duncan. He was getting ready for a big fight, and the sparring partners that went out there, either they couldn't deal with Tim either stamina-wise, or they just were not giving him any sort of real test, that would make the sparring worth it. And this young guy that Cameron sends out there shows up alone. No team, no corner man, no nothing. And Tim is looking at him in the gym alone as if he got dropped off by his mom. And this guy just beats the hell out of him. And so he calls Cameron, and Cameron says, "Oh, let me guess, another one you want to send back?" Tim's like, no, do not send this guy. And Tim admits that, a young Terrence Crawford, when he only had like 4 or 5 fights, just beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I love the whole Crawford, and I love the way he left. I love the whole, WBC thing. I love everything about him. And in 5 years from now, you'll see he'll be up there on the all-time great list. But we got a great fight. I give Shakur Stevenson a lot of credit for moving up in weight, and I'm sure you caught this. He said earlier this week that he does not plan. Actually, I think he said it late last week. He does not plan to move to stay up in the higher weight class when he beats Lopez. He said he plans on moving back down to lightweight. That surprised me. Teofimo Lopez against Shakur Stevenson. I know you wanted to talk about it. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Well, we have 2 young former amateurs that have been very successful in transitioning into professionals, which is hard. You just mentioned that about with body punching. Each is a multi-division champion, and they have beaten the best in or around their division that the promoters, as we just spoke about, have been willing to match them up with, or ones that are willing to get in the ring with them. The size difference isn't that much. Lopez, I think he has an inch height, and he has a half-inch reach. Lopez is not really a bigger puncher than Shakur. His punch ratio, ever since he went up in class, just like Edwin Berlanga, it was great when you were knocking out guys that were there to be knocked out. But ever since then, he hasn't been a big puncher. Why he's talking all this about knocking Shakur out, I don't know. But Lopez has adapted, and after the Kambosos fight especially, become more of a boxer. Despite I don't make excuses except for the esophagus issue after that fight, which wasn't okay when Lomachenko had a rotator cuff and elbow surgery the very next morning after their fight. Teofimo's loss to Kambosos was more due to weight than it was actually anything health-wise, which is why he jumped up to 140. Same reason why Devin Haney has been smart, 140, 147. Lopez, he's good at 140. Shakur is one of those guys that can go both ways. I don't think he's going to jump back down to 135 and stay long. I think he's going to go down, collect all the belts, and then come up to 140, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I would think that would be his goal, assuming he can, get the fighters to unify the belts. But so how do you think this fight's going to go?
Well, the way I see it is Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, he's slick in the ring. We've seen him at 140. He plays around a little bit, tries to do some Roy Jones imitation, puts his hand behind his back, so on and so forth. But he hasn't scored a stoppage win since his debut against Pedro Campa, who was 34-1-1. Yeah, that looks good on paper, except Campa never defeated anybody who was ranked in the top 100. And it took Lopez 7 rounds to get that TKO. You can't blame Lopez, but a lot of these fights have been ridiculous scoring. He faced, and a lot of people agree with me, that he had lost to Sander Martin. In the Sander Martin fight, not only was he dropped early by a guy who doesn't hit that hard, but he was literally outboxed. You watched that fight, and he was outboxed that whole fight. Yet this insane scores from Pascal Paquopo, I think he had by like 5, which was baffling. Only the Italian judge, Guido Cavalieri, I believe it was, had it in favor of Martin. It was ridiculous. Same thing with the Jermaine Ortiz fight. Lopez, yes, he deserved the win. The 115, 113, and again, I think Sutherland and Cheatham both scored at that, but then we get Weisfeld, who throws in a 117, 111, which was embarrassing. Then we get Lopez. His most dominant performance at 140 pounds was against Steve Claggett. Lopez dominated the fight with movement and boxing, but Claggett is really a B-level fighter. And those scores I agreed with, 120, 108 twice. I think it was 119, 109. So he had some humbleness. Yes, a lot of people wonder why did you leave out the Josh Taylor fight? Josh Taylor, he's a guy that stayed at 140 too long. That's an example of what happens when you weight drain yourself. We've seen what happened when Taylor had faced his previous opponent, the guy that you like so much, Jack Catterall. Catterall should have won their fight. Lopez has not. Josh Taylor has not won a fight since the Teofimo loss, and that's at 147. He even lost the rematch. So Lopez, he's marketable. He knows how to market himself. You have to give him credit for that. Yes, he's very skilled. He's a skilled boxer. You can't take away his wins. You can't take away the fact that Lopez has faced and called out the very best. He's been smart in terms of that's how he's gotten a lot of these big fights and fast-tracked, even without a promoter really pushing hard behind him like the PBC does for their guys. But now he's getting a little overly cocky again. For some reason, Teofimo Lopez and his father seem to think that every time they're in public, they're on the streets. Yeah, Teo, you're from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. How many people do we know in the Hall of Fame that are from Brooklyn? Fighters that were, all-time greats. Shakur Stevenson is from Brick City. Brick City's a tough place to live. So you going out there and trying to treat him like a punk. I don't know. And have you noticed, even though with that half-inch size and height, face-to-face, and the look on Teofimo's face when they came face-to-face, and he seemed to be the first one to notice it, Shakur is bigger than he is in terms of mass.
Yeah, physically they're the same size. The only thing you'd say about when people say Lopez is bigger is only because he's fought at the heavier weight longer. That's all, but I'm sure. Listen, Stevenson is a talented guy. I am not a huge fan because I don't like the total safety first, but you got to give him credit, and I think he's going to do well. I'm going to break down this fight later, but I think he's in store to do something special on Saturday.
He's not. He's not. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. He's not. He's not safety first. We have to bring into fact that he did have a little bit of a slow start in the beginning. As a professional, he has fought continuously top names. Joet Gonzalez was undefeated when Stevenson took his featherweight title. That was a total one-sided washout with absolutely any discrepancies in the scoring. Not even Gonzalez's people had a problem with the 119, 109s across the board. Jamal Herring, at the time Stevenson took his featherweight title, was making, I think, the fifth defense. He was behind on all three cards by 9 points. Mark Nelson had to save him in the 10th. Herring is 5'10.5". He has a 72-inch reach. At the time, he had just finished walking through Carl Frampton and dominating Lamont Roach, who just dominated, in a lot of people's opinion, Tank Davis. Oscar Valdez. Not only is Oscar Valdez a former Olympian, no, he's not a medal holder, but Oscar Valdez was ranked in the top 10 pound for pound. He was the Ring Magazine champion when he faced Shakur Stevenson.
After that fight.
In that fight.
Yeah, but wait a minute. After that fight, which was in 2022, he's had nothing except, if you want to sprinkle in that Josh Padley fight, where he shouldn't even been in the same ring with Stevenson. He's done really nothing other than dominate fights, but not with any kind of excitement. I mean,
Paddy was a mandatory. I was going to mention that. Paddy was a mandatory, so Stevenson, had to get that out of the way. You can't really hold that, against him. But again, let me get back to Robinson Canseco, a top 10 ranked fighter and former champion, challenger, only lost to Valdez. Stevenson, again, 118 to 109, 117 to 111, and so on and so forth. Edwin De Los Santos at lightweight is kind of made the best challenge of it, making it close to where it was like 2 or 4 points on all the judges' scorecards. And then you get to Artem Yunanin, where, he gave a good effort, but again, wasn't close. You mentioned Josh Padley, a mandatory. Stevenson couldn't allow his critics to sit there and say, oh, look, a mandatory was going the distance and gave him this much trouble. So what did he do? He abused him. His corner had to throw in the towel. Teofimo had to save face. And then what's he do? He faces William Zapata Segura, who is a harder puncher than Teofimo Lopez ever was. And he's bigger than Lopez. He's beaten Tevin Farmer. He's beaten Joe Diaz. He's beaten a slew of other challengers. He has a steady 80 to 88% knockout ratio. He stood right inside with him and went toe to toe the whole fight. How is that boring? He showed he can take the best anybody can deliver him. Teofimo's already making excuses. If I beat him, they'll say he was too small. He jumped up in weight. He was a former featherweight. Well, so was Oscar De La Hoya. So was Floyd Mayweather Jr. So was Manny Pacquiao, started at 108 pounds. And they all jumped up 20, 30, 40 pounds. Stevenson from Brick City, Lopez from Brooklyn. As the old saying goes, Bill, the guy to worry about is the guy that's the most quiet and relaxed, which is Shakur. His performances and the one-sided scoring, the way he has made elite level fighters look like amateurs, I think speaks for itself. He's not been dropped. Lopez has been dropped multiple times by light hitters. Kambosos isn't a big puncher. Martin isn't a big puncher. He's just an elite boxer. If he was a big puncher, we'd be speaking about him right now. Just like Sergio Martinez, his countryman. If he was that type of puncher, yes, he'd be the king of this division right now. I have to say, I agree with something somebody else said, to paraphrase. Shakur Stevenson does a couple things great. He's always composed, and he has great defense. Right now in the sport, I do believe he has the lowest number of connect percentages against him. He's the era's Floyd Mayweather. He lets his opponents decide how it's going to end. Do you want to box? Do you want me to make it look like an idiot while I stand here? Remember, in the Valdez fight, he stood in the corner that whole fight and just made Valdez look like, Ricky Hatton missing that big punch against Floyd Mayweather and getting knocked out in by the turnbuckle. He's a special fighter. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. There is really nothing spectacular about him other than that defense and composure. He's fast, but not overly fast. He has good footwork, but he doesn't have the greatest footwork we've ever seen. He can punch, but obviously he's not the hardest puncher. He's willing to exchange, but obviously he doesn't want to take the punches. It is a hit and don't get hit sport, but he doesn't sit there and run. In my opinion, unless the referee saves him, unless the father isn't too brave for his son, Senior throws in the towel, or Lopez gets knocked out with body. Terrence Crawford, Andre Ward, Dalton Smith, Ryan Garcia, Keyshawn Davis all agree. Floyd Mayweather agrees. He's not your favorite guy, but he agrees. Timothy Bradley agrees. The only people, Brian Garcia agrees. The only people that are backing Teofimo that I know of is James Toney, I believe Sean Porter, and that's about it. I mean, look what the betting odds are.
Yeah, well, that's why they fight the fight, and I like the fact that this one is close enough to have people pick both sides. But
do me a favor, Conor Benn. I'm sorry, Conor Benn is also backing Lopez because if Lopez moves up, that's a big money fight. Now you tell me, you tell me what would Shakur have to do to hold off or take care of anything that Lopez is capable of?
What does he have to do to?
What does Shakur have to do, or does Shakur have to worry about?
Listen, I'm going to be breaking it down a little bit, but I got news for you. It's pretty simple. All Shakur has to do is do what Shakur does.
I was just going to say that. That's all Shakur has to do is enter in and be Shakur Stevenson.
We could dance around and call it fancy shit. We could do it all, but Shakur can win the fight by doing what Shakur does. End the story.
There was another guy, Bill, and we'll leave it at this. There was another guy. He wasn't the defensive genius. I won't say he wasn't a defensive master like Shakur is, at least at this point in time. He didn't quite move as much as Shakur did, but otherwise, he did nothing overly spectacular, just like Shakur does nothing overly spectacular. Yet he was, and I know he was your favorite at the time, pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He retired undefeated. He's Shakur's role model. He was Shakur's mentor early on. He went up another weight class. He's the one who took the aura away from Sergey Kovalev. When you describe Shakur Stevenson, you're kind of describing Andre Ward in a more defensive manner.
Could be.
Andre Ward beat everybody at their own game. He let them dictate how the fight was going to be. Were we going to fight on the outside? Were we going to fight on the inside?
Just such a snooty. His delivery was so snooty. You know how some fighters, you like Mike Tyson, even when he was eating people's children, you still kind of liked him or you hated him. But
guilty pleasures. You know what I mean? We have guilty pleasures in life.
Well, listen, Dax, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll get you on again real soon.
We'll talk about this after Lopez finishes his encyclopedia of excuses.
Well, listen, he could do what he needs to do, but if the outcome goes Stevenson's way, then that's it.
There's no shame.
Yeah, I know. I don't care what he says.
There's no shame either way.
And I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be one of these I think it's going to be a decisive win for whoever wins. Let me just say that.
Brick
I
City's
don't.
going to be a happy, noisy place, and that's all
Yeah,
I got to say.
yeah. No, it's a decent card. All right,
All right.
Dax. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right.
Take it easy. That's my man Daxx Khan giving us his thoughts on the fight. Pretty obvious. Okay, so for what I want to do is talk about all these other fights. So starting tomorrow night, there's a good fight on. Brian Flores going up against Starling Castillo. Just want to touch on this one real quick. It's in the junior welterweight division. Brian Flores, 27-1 with 16 knockouts, 29 years old. Computer ranks him at number 31. He's going up against Starling Castillo, 20-1. 13 of his wins coming by knockout. About the same age. He's 30 years old, but he's a southpaw. He's the hometown guy. Computer has him number 57. When I looked at these two fighters, first of all, I love the matchup because it's two. In my opinion, this is a 50-50 fight. It's on Pro Box. To me, it just seems like Castillo has fought the better opposition, despite the computer ranking him lower than his opponent. I'm going to be going with Castillo on this one. And that's the fight taking place on Friday on Pro Box. The next one I want to talk about real quick will be on Saturday. That fight will be on Top Rank's Classics channel. I don't know if you've watched it. I watched the fight. I think I watched one of the fights from Japan from there. It was pretty cool. But this fight, the main event, Xander Zayas going up against Abbas Baru. I love this fight. This is a really good fight. When you take a look at Zayas, he's undefeated, 22-0 with 13 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 3. The ring has him at number 5. ESPN has him at number 4, and he's currently the WBO World Super Welterweight a title holder. He's 23 years old. He's 8 years younger than his opponent. He's got 112 rounds as a pro with a 59% knockout ratio. When you look at his record, I tell you the truth, his last 7 fights were all against good opposition going back from June of 2023 right up until his last fight, which was in July of last year. The combined record of his opponents in those fights, 180 wins, 19 losses, and 2 draws. I really think he's fought on paper some decent opposition. And when he steps in the ring, he's going to be fighting Abbas Baru, who's the WBA World Junior Middleweight champion. The computer ranks him at number 12. Ring Magazine has him at number 8. ESPN has him at number 6. And the IBO Top 100 has him at number 9. 17-1 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. Is he 31-year-old, 5'9.5". He's got 131 rounds as a pro, even though he's got less total fights, which is actually 19 more professional rounds than Zayas. His last 3 opponents were all good opposition. In March of 2024, he won a 12-round majority decision over Sam Eggington. In June of 24, he won a 12-round decision over Macaulay McGowan. And in August of last year, he won a 12-round decision over Ioannis Telaz. He's also got wins over Jack Colhay and Ali Fanica. This is a tough fight to pick because both of these fighters are pretty talented. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna go with Zayas in this fight. I think that even though he's 8 years younger and he's got a little more fights, I just think that Zayas is it's going to be his night. So I'm picking Zayas over Baru to combine a couple of those junior middleweight titles. The next fight that is going to be on is the that I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it real quick. Is the Backham I can't even pronounce the guy's name. Myrtle Kazayev going up against Josh Kelly, and this fight, when you look at Murtazayev or Murtazayev, his best wins, they came in October of 2024, a third round stoppage over Tim Zhu. In April of 24, 11th round knockout over Jack Colhay. And in 2022, December, Roberto Venezuela, an 8-round unanimous decision. He's 23-0 with 17 wins coming by knockout. He hasn't fought in a little bit, over a year. So the only people ranking him right now is the Ring Magazine at number 4. 5'11" and a half, 104 rounds as a pro. He's a tough hombre. He steps in the ring with Josh Kelly. There's something about Josh Kelly that I always liked. Okay, he's 17-1 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout, and his one loss was a knockout loss. His best wins as a pro. In December of 22, he won a 12-round unanimous decision over Troy Williamson. In July of 23, he won a 12-round decision over Gabriel Corzo. And in September of 2024, he won a 12-round majority decision over Ishmael Davis. He's 31 years old. He's 5'10", which is going to be an inch and a half shorter than his opponent. And he's got a 72-inch reach, which is also shorter at 2 inches. The computer ranks him at number 16, the IBF at number 3, the WBO at number 1, and the IBO's top 100's got him at number 15. He's, Mirzalayev has been a guy that has been out of the ring for over a year. And as much as I think Josh Kelly is going to potentially steal the early rounds by outboxing Murtazayev. But I think Backham at the end is going to wear my man Josh Kelly down, and he's going to win by stoppage. So, yeah, I'm picking one more time. I'll murder his name. Murtazayev. I'm picking him over my man Josh Kelly. I hate to do that to Josh, but anyway, you got to do what you got to do, right? The next fight, let's see, which is the next one I'm picking. I guess I'll do the Carlos Adames against Austin Williams fight. Here's another fight that I love. All right, Carlos Adames. This is a guy that, in my opinion, got robbed in his last fight. Carlos Adames, he's got a record of 24 wins, 18 of his wins coming by knockout. He's got one loss. That was to Patrick Teixeira back in 2019. He's got a draw, and that, boys and girls, is where he got robbed, and that's against Hazmat Shiraz. That was his last fight in February of last year. I don't know if you remember this fight, but there's no. I mean, it wasn't even close. There's no way that this fight was a draw. And that, I guess, is aside from the Teixeira loss in 2019, is the only blemish on him. The Ring has him at number 1. ESPN has him at number 2. He is the WBC World Middleweight Champion. His best wins, June in 24. He beat Terrell Gasher with a 12-round decision. In June of 23, he won a 9th-round stoppage over Julian Williams. And back in December of 21, he won a 10-round majority decision over Sergey Deverenchenko. Those were his best wins. But, man, boys and girls, did he get robbed in that Shiraz fight. Nothing against Shiraz. I think Shiraz has come a long way, but not in that fight. I mean, if you remember the fight, I mean, the guy... whatever. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Now he's stepping in the ring with Austin Williams. Austin Williams has got a record of 19 wins, 1 loss, and his 1 loss was by a knockout at the hands of, come on, boys and girls, guess Hamaz Shiraz. That's right. That took place in June of 2024. Out of his 19 wins, he's got 13 coming by knockout. The computer ranks him at number 9. The ring ranks him at number 8. The IBO Top 100 has him at number 5. He's a southpaw at 6 foot tall. His best wins: a 10-round unanimous decision over Steve Rolls back in 2023. That was a good win for him. And a 12-round unanimous decision over Patrice Valle back in 2025. Those were his best wins. Who's going to win this fight? Listen, this is a W for Carlos Adames. I mean, they're somebody's trying to make up for that other fight. Carlos Adames in this one pretty simply. The next fight, this is an interesting fight, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And this is Keyshawn Davis against Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz, this cat, Dax was just talking about him fighting Teofimo. And Jermaine Ortiz, I've gotten to see because he's now with CES. And he's got a record of 20 wins, 10 of his wins coming by knockout. 2 losses to Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko. I mean, you can't really knock a guy for losing to those 2 fighters. And many people think he didn't even lose to Lopez. The computer ranks him at number 15. The IBF's got him at number 11. The WBA's got him at number 10. The WBC's got him at number 9. And the WBO has him at number 11. Yes, boys and girls, ding, 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 ding. All 4 of the major sanctioning bodies have him ranked in their top 12. The IBO top 100 has him at number 14. Like I said, 20-2, 10 knockouts. He's got a 50% knockout ratio. 29 years old. He's going to be 2 years younger. But at 5'8", he's given up 3 inches in height, and at 69-inch reach, he's given up another 4 inches there. Since he lost to Teofimo Lopez, he's got a 4th-round stoppage over Christian Minnow back in November of 2024. And in March of 2025, he's got a 10-round unanimous decision over Yomar Alamo. In October 2025, he's got a 3rd-round stoppage over Ambirax Batista. Those were his best wins, in my opinion, since his loss to Teofimo Lopez. He steps in the ring with Keyshawn Davis. We've all heard of Keyshawn. A lot of people is saying, even Coach just said in the chat room, Keyshawn Davis is the future. He's 13-0 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 4. ESPN has him at number 3. The junior welterweight in the WBO has him at number 1. And the IBO has him at number 2. So here's the problem. He's moving up. And so they got him ranked in some of these sanctioning bodies at junior welterweight. And he moved up from lightweight. So the rankings, I don't know. This fight's going to get him in all of them. When you take a look at his record, it's 13-0 with 9 knockouts. His best 4 wins to date, in my opinion, in April of 2023. He's got a 9th-round stoppage over Anthony Yiggett. If you remember, Yiggett was a pretty good contender for a bit. In February of 2024, he had a 6th-round stoppage over Jose Pedraza. When you look at, we're talking about gatekeepers, Jose Pedraza has become a gatekeeper. But, this guy was a world champion, and now, he seems to not be able to win, but he's still fighting a lot of these young guys. In July of 24, he won a 12-round decision over Miguel Madueno. And in his last fight, a 4th-round stoppage over Dennis Berenchek. He's got some good wins under his belt. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. How's this fight going to go? Well, I want to say Jermaine Ortiz has a good shot. but I think Keyshawn Davis is just a little too talented. I think, to be honest with you, if Jermaine Ortiz could connect, maybe he hurts Keyshawn and can steal a knockdown or two during this fight. But if he can't do that, it's going to be a Keyshawn Davis win by decision. The next fight is a fight I wanted to talk about is the Bruce Carrington against Carlos Castro fight. It's for a vacant WBC featherweight title. Bruce Carrington, he's a New York fighter, 28 years old. He's 16-0 with 9 knockouts. His opponents, if you look at all of his opponents, he's fought marginal opposition. The computer has him at number 6. He's 5'8", 72-inch reach. He's an interim WBC title holder. He steps in with Carlos Castro. He's a California fighter. He's got a record of 30 wins and 3 losses. 14 of his wins coming by knockout. They're close in size. I mean, he's 5'9" with a 70-inch. So Carrington's got a 2-inch reach advantage, but Carlos Castro has a 1-inch height advantage. His last fight was 16 months ago. He's coming off, and 16 months ago, he lost to Stephen Fulton, a split decision. So not only is he coming off a loss, but he hasn't fought in 16 months. I'm going with Bruce Carrington in that one. Another quick fight, Jarrell Miller is taking on Kingsley Iba. Iba's number 48 by the top 100 in the IBO top 100. And Jarrell Miller, he's a tough guy. It's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. If Jarrell Miller can scrounge up another win, he's going to get another payday. That's the truth of it. Interesting fight on Saturday is William Skull against Jacob Bank. William Skull, a super middleweight. He's a Cuban fighter, 23-1 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 17. The IBF has him at number 10. He's 33 years old, 5'11" and a half. He lost a very controversial 12-round decision in May of 2025 to, come on, boys and girls, that's right, Canelo. And prior to that, he beat Sean Hempel and Vladimir Shishkin via decisions in 2024. They had a combined record of 32 wins and 1 loss going into that fight with Skull. So those two fighters had a 32-1 combined record fighting Skull. Skull was a fighter that got his name by fighting well against Canelo, even in a loss. That's his 1 loss. He's taking on Jacob Bank, a Denmark fighter. 24 years old, 17-0 at 9 knockouts. Computer has him at number 13. WBC has him at number 12. The WBO has him as high as number 4. His last 3 fights against decent opposition. November 24th, he stopped Ibo Dalio in the 4th. March of 2025, he won a 10-round decision over Damian Biagio. And in September 13th of last year, he stopped Tyrone Zouge in the 5th round. Who's going to win this fight? It's going to be I think it's going to be a close fight. Bank is a good fighter, but I think William Skull gets another win here. So I'm looking for William Skull in that one. Okay, finally, the last fight of the night that I'm going to be checking out. I got Lovett in the chat room going, snow and cold there. Where are you talking about? Oh, here. Yeah. Yeah, it's snowing cold here. It's not going to get near 20 degrees for another 8 days here, So, yeah, it's freezing cold. It's not Buffalo cold, but it's cold. All right, Teofimo Lopez going up against Shakur Stevenson. Actually, the proper way of presenting this fight is saying that Shakur Stevenson is moving up in weight to challenge Teofimo Lopez for his super lightweight, junior welterweight title. Teofimo Lopez, take a look at him. He's 22-1, 13 of his wins coming by knockout. His only loss was a 12-round split decision to George Kambosos. The computer has him at number 1. Ring has him as their champ. ESPN has him at number 1. He's currently the WBO World Super Lightweight champ, 28 years old, which is actually the same as Stevenson. He's 1 inch shorter at 5'9", and he's got a 68.5-inch reach, which is about the same as Stevenson. He has a win, a 12-round unanimous win over Vasily Lomachenko back in 2020. His last 6 fights were wins against all decent opposition. He ended up, well, if you go back to Pedro Campa, Sandor Martin, Josh Taylor, Jermaine Ortiz, the close fight, Steve Claggett, and Arnold Barbosa Jr., all those fights were against decent opposition, in my opinion. But the thing that gets me the most about Teofimo Lopez is that in his last couple of fights, he's looked better. Especially the Claggett fight, he looked good. The Ortiz fight, he looked didn't look as great, but he looked good against Barbosa, I thought, in his last fight. Some of the things Dax said, I agree with. He's a good boxer. He's not known for his punching power. I mean, he does possess a 59% knockout ratio, but when you look at 22 wins with 13 by knockout, you don't really think of him as a power puncher. Now, he's stepping in the ring with Shakur Stevenson. So many people love Shakur Stevenson, and they were always talking about his defensive prowess. He's 24-0 with 11 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 1. He is the WBC World Lightweight Champion, and in lightweight, he's ranked number 1 everywhere. He's a southpaw, like I said, similar reach, and he's got an inch in height over Teofimo. His last 5 of his 8 fights were all against good opposition. The thing about Shakur is he's a great defensive fighter. He's a bit boring, in my opinion. When you go into history, and if you're in the chat room, Coach already, blew my thunder here with this because he said it. The guy said it earlier, and I had it on my notes what I was going to be writing. But, when you look at some of these other past great defensive fighters, like Nicolino Loche, Willie Pep, James Toney, Sweet Pea Whitaker, Sugar Ray Robinson, even guys like Jack Johnson and Ezra Charles, Vasily Lomachenko, all great defensive fighters that were pretty exciting in the ring too. So not only were they good defensively, but they were exciting. They went in for the kill. I mean, Willie Pep wasn't known for going in for the kill, but he got his share of stoppages. Shakur Stevenson, 11 knockouts of his 24 wins, about a 46% knockout ratio. I have a feeling that Stevenson, he fights to win. He wins scorecards that aren't close. I think that, people will say, if you don't think Stevenson is so great, then you don't know boxing. Well, the point about, at least my opinion, is, of course, you got to be a great boxer and you have to have good defense and all those things. But if you're not exciting and you're not putting fannies in the seats, and you're not fighting the best opposition that you can, you know what? Then you're making money and you're talking smack and you're not proving it in the ring. I mean, that's the facts. I think Shakur Stevenson is doing something good here, moving up in weight, even though the way Dax pointed it out earlier, and I agree with him, the size isn't that different. Physically, you see the two guys standing next to each other, the size doesn't look like it's going to be anything. As a matter of fact, I was very surprised when I heard that Shakur Stevenson said that he plans on going back to lightweight, because should he become victorious on Saturday night, what's the reason? Why would he go back down? It makes no sense. He's young enough, and he'll probably be fighting, at the welterweight division sooner than later. So I think that this would be a natural progression for him, and especially if he beats Teofimo. I think if he beats him, it's going to be it's going to catapult him into that mix. Even though everybody has already put him, there. But who's going to win the fight? Well, I got to go back to when Larry Hazard was a regular on this show. And we were doing a show one day, and he's so involved in the sport of boxing in the state of New Jersey. And he's always watching the amateurs, going to the amateurs. And he says, there's a kid. He was saying it on this show. He says, there's a kid who's coming up. He's fighting in the gloves, he was telling me. He's fighting in the Golden Gloves finals. And he says, you keep a name. You remember this name. This is Larry Hazard saying this years ago. He's saying, you remember this name, Shakur Stevenson. He said, he's going to be, you'll hear about him. He's going to be a world champion someday. Fast forward to now, not only is he world champion, but he's attempting to beat a champion in a higher class. I think Stevenson needs a dominating performance on Saturday. I think he needs to put on display all his skills. We know he's got hand speed. We know he's accurate. We know he can counterpunch, and we know he can avoid being punched. So put it all together and be aggressive and doing that. Pull a Lomachenko on Teofimo Lopez. I'm predicting, even though I was leaning towards Lopez for the longest time, but when I factor it all in, and it turns out to be boxer versus boxer, Shakur Stevenson is the better boxer. And just like Dax said, Teofimo Lopez, he's not known for having punching power. Look at his last several fights. So yeah, I'm picking Shakur Stevenson to win this fight, and I think he's going to have a really good night doing it. Listen, boys and girls, make sure you tune in the next couple of weeks. We've got some great guests coming on, especially next week. I can't wait to talk to Victor Reynoso, who's going to be headlining a card on February 7th, I believe. So we'll have him here. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this.